Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to another book review today. Boy, do we have one today. So guys, hang on to your hats. Today's book, I'm hesitant to say this right here, right now at the beginning of this video, but this might be top 5 for me. I'm just gonna say, that's how much I enjoyed it. I feel like everybody and their mother has read this, and I finally got around to reading This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. This was beautiful. It was beautiful, okay? A quick overview, and of course, no spoilers. You are being told this story from the narrator's perspective, a man by the name of Thiago, and his wife passes away. The book opens, you're kind of like, not really at her funeral, kind of like the little, I hesitate to call it after party, it's not the after party. After party. What the hell? I'd like an after party at my funeral. So his family and everybody's all together, suffice it to say. Right away I liked him because he is kind of waxing philosophical in a way, and he's a real relatable person, like right out of the gate, I thought. And I liked it because he's almost getting mad here. He's like, all of these people here, all of her friends, people like that, we're talking about this like superfluous bullshit that doesn't really matter. He was saying like, this isn't who my wife was, you know, did you know that she grinned when she did this, or that she smiled at this, you know, and he's starting to recall all these little things that make you fall in love with a person. And the whole time I'm reading this book, the entire time, I was thinking that I really think it is every person's dream to be loved to this level. Now, I'm going to rabbit trail just a little bit here. When I say to be loved to this level, I mean like to have the level of intimacy that Thiago showed for his wife, Vera, if I hadn't said her name yet. He knew such little nuances about her, and loved them, might I add, that, you know, he was able to paint this picture of this woman that he adored, that was his whole life, without even telling me the color of her eyes. Okay, like, I felt like I knew this woman because of him talking about, you know, the little things that she would do. One of the things, I know y'all are gonna think I'm insane, one of the things I loved is that, like, way later in the book, he talks about how, like, her mom would show up and talk to them when they still had sleep creases in their face. I just love the fact that he loved her with sleep creases in her face. Is that weird? Like, I just thought that was really cute. Honestly, the big overarching thing in this book for me was the level of pure love that Thiago has. Now, that being said, don't go anywhere because this book is horrific. You guys know, I think I mentioned it in a tag. I can't remember. One thing I absolutely love in my books is when I see my main character completely get broken and then come back. So this book was an exercise in that because you have everything from entities, possible demons, possible. It's really left up to the reader as to the entity that manifests later in the book. But if you like all of that creepy, I'm gonna possess you kind of shit, like stuff falling off the wall and people getting messages from the other side or whatever, you're gonna love this. Now, if you don't, hear me out though, because the way this is set up, I love this. You really, truly, when it first starts happening, you don't know if it's like something in the wall or whatever, or if it's him and his grief. And as the book progresses, that rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper. And I like it because, you know, it's so interwoven. He meets like little pieces of the puzzle throughout the book, even some that you don't think are related until way later. I love that. And the kind of like real meta, almost fever dream picture that happens towards the end of the book about like what this all means is very much, I think, left up to the reader as to how much symbolism you want to put into it, you know? Because there's this whole deal with him seeing this thing and it manifesting in different forms, the dog being one of them, you know, it possessing, for lack of a better way to put it, different forms, you know. There's a particular structure that appears to him that is kind of really out there that may or may not have powers. You don't really get to find out until way later. I really love how so much was kind of given to you as a reader, but then you were left to digest it. Even though this book dealt with things like death, loss, grief, things that sometimes people put like a very religious or, you know, a very spiritual kind of flavor to, this book didn't really have that. It presented this raw grief to you and this like crazy, almost ghost story, demonic thing, and married it beautifully, might I add, but never like swayed you to think one way or the other. It was almost like, here's what's happening, do with it what you will. And I loved it. It was so good. You know, there were so many elements here that I liked. Number one, I loved the horror. There were some excellent body horror scenes, like eyeballs popping and shit. It was great. But there was also a lot of like really trippy moments, kind of harkening back to me like The Brain Drips Yellow, that book that I love so much. Kind of harkening back to that. Very, very fever dreamy. Very fever dreamy. And I liked it though because it really showed the depth of this grief that Thiago was going through. And on top of everything else, I was thinking, wow, I wish that everyone could have a Thiago. Not to dog on anyone's loss, you know, everyone has their own relationships, and really those relationships are nobody's business but the people in them. But what I'm saying is like, how wonderful would it be to have someone who loves you so much so that they don't care to get like a tattoo of you or, you know, light a candle in a photo because they know that that is no way, shape, or form going to even show how deeply they feel your absence. And that's the thing, that's the thing. You know, you can love someone and want them to be with you, but can they feel it when you're not there? Think about that. Think about that. It kind of put me in mind, there was something I read once about, I think it's the French way of saying I love you. It's supposed to be like, you're missing from me. I love that idea. And to me, that's kind of what this was about. It was not so much about loss and this man's dealing with it. You could definitely say that. You could definitely say that. It was almost like these two people were so much in love. This man was so enraptured with his wife that his life literally broke down. You know, you could make the argument that maybe he went insane even, you know, based on some of the stuff that happened. And as crazy as that sounds, I really hope that everybody experiences that depth of love someday. I thought it was beautiful. I really did. Now that being said, I certainly would not want someone who loves me, you know, if I was to die, to go through the things that Thiago went through in this book, because they're horrible. But it is such a wonderful showcase of something that is underlining the entirety of humanity. You know, when you love something that can die, you really are taking a chance with your own heart. And that's kind of what is showcased here. You know, when we love something that is biological and can die, you really are setting yourself up for a lot of pain, because you know as well as I do, we're not here forever. The only way you're going to escape the pain of their loss is if you go first. And that's not really a great outcome either. So I know this is like super rambly and everything, but suffice it to say, this book was amazing. It was as if you took What Dreams May Come and put a bunch of horror sprinkles on it, because you have this wonderful, almost mystery, fever dream parts, possession, entities. It's all wrapped up here, but it's completely left up to you how you want to interpret it. Beautifully written, quotable parts, relatable characters. I loved it. You guys know I don't do a whole hell of a lot of ranking here, but if I did, this would easily make the top 5. This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. So guys, thank you for hanging out for another review. I was dying to talk about this book. I don't know if you can tell. It is hard to talk about. It's kind of an experience to me because it really plays on so many human emotions, and I loved it. I loved everything about the way it was constructed. I thought it was fantastic. It has some amazing horror parts. It deals with some really big picture questions, which you know your girl loves. It was just a total package for me. So again, guys, thank you for hanging out for another video. Please, if you like this, hit like, hit subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.